So 5 years ago, I decided to drop out of college because my inner voice told me on my first day of junior year that I had to. Like I just had to. And I listened to that inner voice. And what I'm starting to realize is a lot of people either don't have that inner voice, or I think most people, they just choose not to listen to that inner voice. But that inner voice led me to dropping out, and that led me to making millions of dollars in the next 4 or 5 years after that. And what I want to do in this video is I have all my lessons that I've learned. And I really encourage you guys to watch this all the way to the end, because what I'm about to put in here, I wish I could tell myself 4 or 5 years ago, and that would have either saved or made me in like tens of millions of dollars. So don't make the mistakes I've made, and then also learn from the things that worked for me and apply it to your life, especially if you're on your way up as an entrepreneur in general. So the first lesson I want to talk about that I've really never heard other people talk about is that inner voice. And what I'm starting to realize is everybody has that inner voice. Everybody has that gut intuition, but it doesn't appear to me that most people even listen to that. And what's so strange looking back on it is every time that I've listened to my gut instinct, I've always come out good on the other side, every single time. And even though it might not make sense for me right at that moment, time and time again, it's been proven to me that that is the guide. And my buddy asked me this question the other day. He said, "Do you believe in destiny or free will?" And after thinking about it for a while, I realized that what I truly believe is that we all have the free will to follow our intuition that always will lead us to our destiny. And I believe we all have a sort of destiny, but it's guided by inner voice / intuition / gut instinct. Because I remember when I dropped out of college, that inner voice stayed with me. I remember when I would still go out on the weekends, that inner voice was tormenting me. Like, what the hell are you doing still going out? You should be working on social media marketing. You should be working on e-commerce. Why the hell are you going out? And unfortunately, just a lot of people, they have the inner voice and they just drown it out with alcohol or other substances, because they know that voice is leading to their potential. They know that voice will lead them to their destiny, but it's going to be hard and it's going to be painful and it's going to take a lot of work. And picking up a beer and drinking it with your friends is way easier than that. So that's the first lesson for sure. Follow your inner voice no matter what. So with a quick Google search, you'll see that 14% of Americans report that they're happy. So you got to think, why would you follow what most people are doing if the end result seems to give you a 14% chance of being happy? I guarantee you the majority of that 14% did things very differently than the other. You cannot fall into groupthink. If you fall into groupthink, you're going to be part of the 86% of people who are statistically unhappy in America, and then even a bigger percentage not doing what they actually want to do. If you see everybody going out on the weekends, don't go out on the weekends. If you see everybody going to college without any idea of why they're going to college, don't go to college. And this isn't about a college, no college debate. This is just literally about looking around you and doing the opposite of most people to get what most people cannot achieve, essentially. And so this leads to the third thing that I've learned, which is my favorite, and I quoted this a long time ago. Never listen to anybody who's never done whatever it is you're trying to do. You're going to end up not doing it just like them. Only listen to the people who have done what you are trying to do or similar to what you're trying to do, and tune out everybody else. I realized this because when I first started trying to get into digital marketing, I had family members, I had friends tell me straight up to my face that I am going to fail at this and that I shouldn't even try. And what I realized in that moment when they were telling me this, even though it did hurt at the moment, what I realized is like, this is coming from a person who, first of all, doesn't even know what digital marketing is, but also someone who's never even tried it. Why would I listen to anybody who says that something's not possible when I could just go out and ask the people who have done it, how did they make it possible? That's one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned through this whole journey I've been on since I dropped out of college 5 years ago, is you would be very surprised how simple your path becomes and how easier it's always gonna be hard, but how much easier it's gonna become when you literally say, okay, I want to be an actor. Tune out every single person who's not a successful actor and put all my focus into finding somebody who is a successful actor or multiple successful actors, and only listen to their advice to become more like them. If you get nothing else from this video, ingrain that into your mind, because that is one of the most important things that I've ever learned myself. Lesson number 4, never wait for the right time or being around the right amount of people. I've fallen into this trap so many times where I'll be like, well, once I get to X, I can finally do X. That's a trap. That's the whole I'll start tomorrow fallacy. Even with this video, I was thinking like, well, maybe I can just film this video tomorrow. I can order on Amazon one of these mic mounts, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'll put it in the desk. I'll put the microphone in the desk and make it work. So never put off what you want to to do, waiting for the right moment, or especially waiting to be around the right people. Because the right people one, I see a lot of people fall into. Like, I want to work out, but like, I just don't have anyone to go work out with. Let me tell you guys, I started everything I did, everything on YouTube, without knowing anybody doing what I was doing even close to it. All my friends did not do that. So don't use that as an excuse, because that's what it literally is. Waiting to be around certain people, doing what you want to do is an excuse. You get around those people by doing it yourself. Okay, lesson number 5. I've really learned this myself more than ever this year. Chase freedom of responsibility. Don't just chase freedom. When I first started everything, you can look all the way back on my videos. I was after location neutral income automation. I wanted to build dropshipping stores, and I wanted to launch them, and I wanted to automate it so that I could just make money every day and do whatever I want every day, no matter what. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, money doesn't make you happy. What I'm trying to say is taking care of responsibilities is what's gonna make you actually happy and what's gonna actually make you feel fulfilled in life. And I really want you guys to understand this, because it took me a long time to realize this. The whole point of making money is so that you can choose your responsibilities. Right now, if you have to have a job, your responsibility is to be at that job, and at that job, you have responsibilities to take care of every day, and you get paid for that. The whole point that I see of making an online business and automating it is so that it can put you in the position to choose your responsibility. And that responsibility can be anything. If you have a lifelong dream of being an actor, you want to get yourself to the position where you automate your income so you're making enough money that you can chase your dreams, so you can choose the responsibility of yourself, taking on the responsibility of becoming an actor. Or if you want to start a very large family. Shout out to my boy Robert. He has 17 brothers and sisters. It's about automating your money so you can use that money, and most importantly, use that time to pursue anything you want. A lot of people get trapped up in just pursuing money, but remember that dream that you had, that's beyond money, always. If that dream is specifically money, go for it. Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like most people have dreams that are beyond money, but by taking away that pressure of making money and then taking back all your time, you can apply that straight to whatever you want. And that is the way you should be thinking, not just, I just want to automate my income, because that's how I was, and then I realized that is not that's a path of misery, trust me. Okay, so moving on to number 6. Don't feel like you have to prove anything to anyone except yourself. Whether you have parents that didn't believe in you, whether you had friends who didn't believe in you, whether you had classmates who bullied you, I feel like the people who flex the hardest had the most amount of those people in their life, because what they're trying to do is prove to all those people who doubted them that they made it. And so I fell into that trap too. Like, everybody doubted me, guys, from the very beginning. So you know what I spent my money on right from the beginning? Gucci, Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton, Dior, and just endless like shoes and clothing and all this stuff. And what I realized about that was like, okay, so it's not necessarily about me loving the love of fashion. You know, I was never a fashion guy. I bought that stuff because I never really had it. But in a deeper level, I was buying that stuff to show everybody that I have it now. And so like now I'll still like maybe dabble in that stuff, but it'll be subtle. Back then, I would only buy stuff that said like Gucci on it or Balenciaga, and I was like, why would anyone ever buy a Balenciaga shirt that didn't say Balenciaga? But what I realize now is like, you just got to ask yourself, are you wearing it for yourself or are you wearing it for other people? And if you're just displaying a logo like that, you're a walking billboard. And I was a walking billboard for a long time. Okay, number 7. So this one only applies if you really need help getting motivated. Like, I've heard so many people say like, I don't know why I'm not motivated, and I don't know why I just can't sit down and do the work. You might need to do a dopamine detox. And so my number 7 is restrict your dopamine to business and health things only. If you do that, you become a fucking monster. And I realized this when I was doing 75 hard earlier this year. I restricted my dopamine. I was not smoking weed. I was not drinking alcohol. I was not doing nicotine. You know, I wasn't doing any of these things. And what I realized is when I restricted all of my dopamine from coming to the gym, I became a maniac. And this is what I did pretty much every day on the last half of that 75 hard, when I was fully turned into a dopamine addict for the gym though, because the gym was the only thing my dopamine was coming from. And when that happens, your brain just wants more of it. Your brain just wants more of it. It doesn't know the context of where the dopamine's coming from. That's why it's amazing how you can choose where your dopamine comes from, and that is what your brain gets addicted to. If you're a drug addict, like Grant Cardone says, congratulations, because you have a feature that can be transmitted into the most incredible work ethic that you would just not even believe about yourself. But when all my dopamine was coming from the gym, I woke up, I hit the gym for an hour. Right from the gym, I hit an hour run. Right after that, I went back to the gym to hit some abs and then hit the steam and sauna. And then I'd go home, I'd do some work. But honestly, at that point, I overdid it because I was just so fucking drained that I wouldn't do as much work as I wanted to. But that didn't stop me from going back to the gym around 8 o'clock, hitting some more abs, hitting some more whatever, and then going into the steam and sauna. So there was a point for about 3 or 4 weeks where I was doing the gym 3 to 4 times every single day. And that's just not healthy. But my whole point is you can apply that same thing in a business. And ideally, what I found is the best balance is if you restrict all of your dopamine coming from working on your business, then that's all your brain's gonna wanna do. But if you're throwing soda into that, you know, if you're throwing bullshit food, your brain's gonna be like, whoa, look at this spike. Like they're gonna wanna go to that big spike. So, and I wish I would have learned that way earlier. Like you can become an absolute monster at anything you wanna do if you just do a dopamine detox and allow all your dopamine or most of your dopamine to come from one specific thing that you wanna focus on. But I also heavily encourage you to add the gym into whatever else that you're trying to focus on too. All right, number 8, and this is gonna be a very controversial one. I'm sure people are gonna hate this one in the comments, but this is what I truly believe. Quit your job as soon as the momentum picks up in your business. And what I mean by this specifically is when you start seeing that the money's coming in enough to sustain your lifestyle, not to go out, enough money is coming in where you can feed yourself and keep a roof over your head. That is when you need to quit your job, especially if it's a bullshit job. You can always get another one if it fails, but go all in right then and never look back. When you make that decision, you tell yourself that this is it and you will never get a job again. If you go back into another job, it's gonna start to fuck with you for sure, because that is gonna be a step backwards. It's go time the second that starts happening in your business, because the most important thing when that's happening is having full custody of your time and full custody of your emotions and full custody of your responsibility. Even just thinking for an hour, like spend that time all on what is working and get rid of that job that's distracting you, get rid of that job that's draining you, get rid of that job that's having you have responsibilities outside the responsibilities you're choosing, specifically time responsibility. And guess what? Worst comes to worst, you go and get another job, but make sure you tell your brain that you're not even gonna allow that and you're just gonna go all in and become a maniac. Mix that with the dopamine detox and the dopamine limitator, you're gonna become an animal. All right, number 9, monetize your knowledge. Whenever you get good at something, you can find ways to monetize your knowledge. So if you go back to number 2, I talk about how do the opposite of what most people are doing and approach things differently. A lot of people know this story, but if you don't, I read Russell Brunson's book, .com Secrets, and then he talked about how funnels are built to convert, websites are built to show off, and I'm like, wow, all these people are kind of building a website. I'm wondering if that same mentality would apply to e-commerce. And I remember I was in a creek and I got this really hot head. It started like, my brain started boiling when I had this idea, but I'm like, one product drop shipping. Like I remember, dude, it felt like an angel literally threw that thought into my head from the heavens. That's how intense of an experience this was. And when I woke up the next day and Googled it and I saw no results, a lot of people would see no results and be like, fuck, I guess it's not worth even trying because nobody else is doing it. But when I saw that with how I am as a person, I was like, oh my God, I figured it out. I'm getting chills even right now thinking about it. I figured it out. I found something that I think would work, that I saw no one else doing, and I applied it, and it changed my entire life. Like immediately my dropshipping stores started taking off. I remember I was doing 6 figures a month and my entire life changed. And then I decided to build a course around it. When I first started that course, it was literally what it has circled around to being now. All I asked people were to sign up with my Shopify link and they get the course for free. And that's what it is now if you guys want to check that out at simplifiedropshipping.com. But what that did was it allowed me to see if this would work on a mass scale. And I wasn't even thinking about long-term on the course in that aspect. I was just wondering, I'm like, okay, if I can get 70 people in here and 70 people build a store with my format, I won't have to go and build 70 stores myself to see if it works. So I built the course and it worked. And from the affiliate deal, I think I made like $4,000 off the Shopify affiliate because I was getting paid very low back then. Shopify affiliate was not that great. And I was like, oh my God, this works. And then that's when I was really inspired by like Ty Lopez and everything. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna launch a course on this. First I charged $47, then $97, then $197, then $297, then $397, and then eventually $497. And I made a lot of money doing that. And the only reason I made a lot of money doing that is because I was honest with what I was offering. And most importantly, the results that were coming from it were incredible. Do not try charging a ton of money for anything until you verify that it works with at least 100 people. Because then you start falling into the guru scam sort of category and you don't want to be charging people for bullshit information. Number 10, careful what you invest your time and money into. Do an audit of yourself. One day just sit down and just realize, okay, what am I putting most of my time into? And then you realize like, whoa, if you take out a book and you write down hour by hour what you do, you're gonna be shocked at how much time you're wasting, but more importantly, you're gonna be shocked at what you're giving your time to. Especially if you're one of these people that I was talking about earlier who recently just like quit their job and going all in. Your time and money, you have to be putting all that into what's working. And if you're putting any time and money into things that aren't helping you out directly, as you make more money, you're gonna put more time and more of that money, especially when you automate it, into things that are not healthy, are not helping. It's just an overall bad way to go about life, especially as an entrepreneur. Okay, number 11, don't go all in on one person's knowledge. I'll take the simplified dropshipping course I have, for example. Every version I've updated, I've always encouraged everybody, don't just follow me blindly. Like the best students I've ever had, and in general, the best entrepreneurs that I know, they all have one thing in common. They all took little pieces from a lot of different people's strategies and applied it to their own unique strategy. And I don't know why that is, why you can't just like copy someone like word for word and it have the same result. That's just not how life works. And that goes back to approaching everything uniquely. You want to find mentors, you want to find people who know what they're talking about, but you want to find a multiple of them so that you can pick and choose what's going to be right for you. But by doing that, you know for sure the knowledge that you're choosing from are all coming from credible, good sources, all with good intentions towards you for the most part. Lesson number 12, this is the final lesson that I've learned so many different times in so many different ways. Do not get distracted by materialism because it gets heavy. I'll tell you a personal example right now. So right now I'm in Austin, Texas. I probably brought like 20% of my possessions. And what I'm realizing is, wow, I only really need 20% of my possessions. And the possessions I did bring, I don't need half of those. And so it's kind of sad, honestly, because right now the large majority of my stuff is back in St. Louis. And I'm thinking that I may have to go back and just live there for a few more months just to get rid of that shit. It goes back to that classic saying, you own the stuff you own until the stuff you own owns you. And I watched Alex Hormozy's video about this recently, about when he sold all of his businesses, he sold all of his personal stuff to his house, all of his clothes and everything. And he used a good term. He says it started to get heavy. And that's what I'm starting to learn about myself too. Like I got a badass wardrobe, but even that, guys, it's like, it gets heavy. Like it gets heavy. I'm starting to get to the point where I'd rather just go back to straight blanks. Because when I packed everything, like I think the large majority of things I packed was like literally all my clothing. And I'm like, do I really need this? Like, do I really need this? And then you come down to furniture, it's like finding a place to put it. I got 4 monitors back home. I'm just going off my laptop here. And I got tables, I got chairs, I got all this stuff that I really don't need. Like especially if I'm going Airbnb to Airbnb, which I think is most preferable, because then you can go city to city and then you also don't have to worry about moving all your possessions everywhere in a U-Haul. Like I want everything to fit in my car that I own. And that's why I don't own a house. That's why I don't own a condo. The only thing I own is my Tesla, which I get unlimited free supercharging for life. So why would I ever sell that car? You know, it only makes sense to keep it and have a car that I literally pay $0 to go anywhere with. It's amazing. But at the end of the day, especially as us entrepreneurs, all we really need is a laptop. Eventually you do get to a point where you want to settle down. When you settle down, that's a completely different story. When I settle down, I want to choose all my furniture the way I want it. I want to have multiple cars. I want to have multiple dogs. I want to have multiple wives. I'm just kidding about that one. I just want one wife. So guys, those are the lessons I've learned by making millions in my 20s. I actually wrote this list while I was working out in the gym earlier. And I'd love to know what you think about this. If you disagree with me on any of these, let me know below. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, I actually respond to comments in the comments section. I love talking to you guys. And I just hope you guys watch this to the end, because if I would have like really ingrained all of this, because a lot of these I'm sure you've heard before, but what I'm telling you is it will save you so much time. It'll save you so much money. It'll save you so many headaches if you really go back and watch all this again and really ingrain all these principles, especially if you're in your 20s, especially if you start making money. It could potentially save you millions in dollars, but more importantly, it could save you years of your life. So, and by the way, as you guys probably noticed in this video, the production quality was far significantly higher than all my previous videos. That's because I've outsourced the editing. Let me know how you like this style of video in the comments below, because I am playing with the idea of fully outsourcing all my editing so I can fully up my production. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you, and peace out.